I ordered a new camera.
Did you? Finally.
What's wrong with my camera?
Well, I mean, it's still the original one on the side.
Okay, that's what I ordered.
Oh,
I don't really notice the difference on yours though, so I don't feel great about this now.
well, it's still 1080p.
Yeah, well, I ordered the True Full HD Sony Sensor Advanced Light Correction DSLR style control. Did yours, do you have software that came with yours?
Oh.
Elgato Prime Lens 1080p 60 24mm 124.
Yeah.
That's what this thing says.
Oh.
Yeah, I feel that's now. I was really hoping to give me a better image than your ugly mug.
Nope. It's about the
Well,
same.
now I feel fucking stupid.
It's a good camera. It's good quality. It fucking holds up nice.
Yeah, but our video qualities are very similar.
Yeah. Well, it's a 1080p. That's
Yeah, but that's
1080.
like a $30 one.
Yeah.
This is
1080p is 1080p.
it's like a $140 one.
Yeah, 1080p is 1080p.
You're gonna make me have to pee.
I already did.
I didn't. Did you fill up your drink?
I did.
Hey everyone, I'm Brad from Calgary.
This is Sean from Cambridge, Ontario.
I'm Terry from Cornwall, Ontario.
Hey, this is Larry from Pitt Meadows, British Columbia, and you're listening to the Towing Life Podcast.
Welcome to the Towing Life Podcast, where the ditches are deep, the trucks are loaded, but the drivers are not. I am your host, Towman G, and as usual, I'm joined by my co-host, friend, and former co-worker, the man with very strong opinions, Mr. Plain Guy.
What is going on, G? What is going on?
Oh, it's been a long day. How about yourself?
I feel you. It was one of those days today that 5 o'clock, right? You're kind of starting to wind down the end of the day. Because let's be honest, day doesn't end at 5. There's nothing I hate more than a clock watcher. Right? That's what I like to call them. An old boss had told me that. If you're here to watch the clock, you're in the wrong spot. So, anyways, winding down the day, and sure enough, doesn't a call come in on the highway? Vehicle in the ditch. That's the information that we are given by our local law enforcement. Vehicle in the ditch on a 400 highway.
Yeah.
So no problem. We head out. Well, this ended up being more than just a vehicle in the ditch. I sent you some photos of it. The vehicle was traveling westbound, left the roadway, went through the center median, crossed the eastbound lanes, and ended up about 150 feet up an embankment behind a fence, behind some trees on the other side of the highway. So, of course, when we get there, and I gotta love our law enforcement, they really do enjoy it. They really do enjoy working with us. I said, well, this is going to be a little trickier than just taking a winch and dragging it out. It's behind a fence. There's no angle to get at it. It's well off the roadway. Angles are limited from the highway. I'm going to have to pull in some equipment, bring in a skid steer, something that can go up there, chainsaw, maybe cut a couple trees out of the way, get this thing out. And the cop looks at us and he goes, yeah, no, that's fine. You get what you need to get. He's like, that's why my senior officer said, call those guys because they'll get it done. And it was kind of rewarding, right? It's something we've been working on, and this is something we have tried to push for, right? We love being that company that can do anything, right? That the police know, hey, you got one that's going to be some work, and you want it done in a timely fashion, call these guys.
Yeah.
Not taking a shot at any other local companies, but it's a reputation in which we built, right? It's not anything bad against them. It's just a positive towards us. So, yeah, by the time we got that thing out of the bush, and don't you want to bet he doesn't have collision on it. Of course he doesn't.
Yeah.
So then we're at the yard trying to settle up the bill, how we're going to do this, how he's going to pay. Because let's be honest, if you're in Ontario or if you're in the towing industry as a whole, and I don't know what states, that's something we got to get producer Sarah onto.
Yeah.
Maybe we should find out what states allow you to abandon cars. Right? So if you're watching over on the YouTube side and you want to tell us, or if you're listening over on the audio side and you want to let us know, does your state allow vehicle owners to abandon the vehicle? Ontario, yes, 100%.
I think most of the provinces allow that.
Well, that's where we can say that, but without actual facts or information from towers in those provinces or in those states, I'd like a little something to back that up. So in your state, can registered owners just abandon the cars, or is there legal requirements to pay fair invoices? Right? I'm going to throw that in there. Pay fair invoices.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what's a recovery like that in your books? What do you think it's worth? Gee, with your experience in the towing industry, what do you think that recovery would be worth?
I don't know. I always find it's a double-edged sword trying to quote jobs that you weren't there and you didn't actually see.
Fair enough. But I'll tell you the equipment I had. I had a flatbed there because that's what they originally called us out for.
Yeah.
I had a traffic control supervisor, which I'm not charging for in this situation because I was more there because it was a greenhorn that was going out.
Yeah.
A little newer of an operator. So go out, give him a hand, make sure everything's good, especially with the cops on scene, right?
Yep.
And then I had a secondary flatbed come down to bring the skid steer to pull the vehicle up.
Yeah.
So I had 2 flatbeds and a skid steer. What do you think that bill should be?
Well, I don't have a skid steer, so I'm not perfect on billing for skid steers, but you're saying
Fair
it's
enough.
150 feet off the side of the roadway
Give or take.
through a fence.
Yep.
Did you have to cut any trees out of the way?
Yeah, 2. Like, they weren't trees. They were like gaggles of branches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't a solid tree, but we did fire. I mean, the chainsaw ran for, I never even charged for the chainsaw.
Okay, so technically you could have pulled the car through them if they were that small, right?
The car went through them all right on the way in, but I mean, you probably would have been doing more damage pulling them out. But yeah.
So on a company that doesn't have the equipment like you got, you're probably looking at, hopefully you got 150 feet of cable and some chains and stuff to reach it, set of bolt cutters to cut through the fence, an axe or a chainsaw to cut the trees out. You're probably looking at like a $800-900 bill to get it to the side of the road without a bobcat or skid steer. With a bobcat or skid steer, you're probably looking at like $1,300-1,400 just because of the extra equipment to get it there. You're probably there faster, less damage done, and probably less dirt coming up to the road from having to drag it that far. But
yeah, so your pricing on even your first one wasn't far off from the actual pricing. I won't go into the exact amounts.
Yeah.
But you can run a couple of those pieces of equipment on an hourly, right? With a 2-hour minimum, right? To haul it out there, use it, haul it back, unload it, load it. Like there's time involved, right? People don't look at that. They'll go, oh, the skid steer was only there for 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was also 30 minutes to load it, 30 minutes to unload it. You know what I mean? Clean it, get your bed back reorganized. Like there's time involved in those things.
Mm-hmm.
That bill, if I'm not mistaken, was somewhere around, we'll say it was anywhere between $1,000 and $1,200.
No.
With the skid steer going out, with the, the mileage and the everything else. So there's fair rates for fair charges.
Yep.
Right? Like you said, you thought with an axe. I love the axe. An axe to cut the post down or the trees down? Jesus.
I carry an axe in my tow truck all the time. And it's not even just to cut trees down. I used to work with trees before I got into towing. And like I've chopped at the backside of some smaller trees just to like form a wedge to make it easier to break over. Right. So I'm not pulling against a dead tree. It's easier for it to fall over. I've used axes, the backside of an axe to pound shit in if I need to, whatever. Like I find it's a useful swinging tool, right?
Yeah.
Just for something to leave underneath the back seat and use it 4 times a year.
And when that guy doesn't pay the bill, Big Bob or whoever it was in your impound was giving you problems.
Yeah.
Big Bob, big throwback to
I leave an axe and a set of bolt cutters underneath my back seat, and those have when I need them, I'm glad I have them.
So that being said, I've spent a little bit of time at the yard trying to negotiate this bill, get this thing all sorted out, because this guy's from Alberta, never going to see him again, want to get it paid because he can abandon his vehicle and just have no repercussions for it.
Yeah.
So if you live in a province or state that has some sort of responsibility, or if you just like to give us your opinion on how your province or state deals with it, how can you get a hold of us? It's pretty easy. You can email us at thetowinglife@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook at the Towing Life Podcast, or you can visit our website where there's a contact us form at www.towinglife.ca. If you're watching over on the YouTube side, like we said, comment down below. Does your state have any sort of repercussion you can take other than Like, I don't believe the answer to this is, oh, well, we get the vehicle and we get to send it to scrap. Because there's situations where maybe the scrap value of the vehicle is greater or equal to the invoice.
Mm.
But there's many more situations, in my opinion, where it isn't, especially with scrap prices being up and down and all over the place, right? We never do know. You know, you got to sit on cars for 6 months or a year hoping that scrap prices go up. Like, it shouldn't just be, oh, I can barely recuperate my cost or I can recuperate some cost. It should be, I'm paid fair for my fair priced invoice.
Yeah. I think,
So-
like, you see a lot of this. Like, I remember when Sarah was on, she would always talk about the abandonment of RVs out in BC.
Yep.
Right? And I know around me, the local scrap yards do not like taking them because there is very little metal in them. So it's very hard to recoup your cost, even if you can send them to scrap, because a lot of times they'll charge you to get rid of them.
Yeah. Yep.
Right. And so that's a big issue for them out there. And a lot of times, like, I know every company I've ever worked for, they're the reason behind it, they're like, yeah, we send it off to scrap. It normally pays the driver on on their commission, and then we just write it off as a loss on our company to make it easier come tax time, right? Because it shows as a loss, so it recoups on some of the taxes that you have to pay. Which, I mean, I guess it's not ideal. Ideally, you just want to get paid for what you do, but
Yep.
it's better than a slap in the face, I guess.
Yeah, I know, but why is it that we're the only ones that don't get paid? Right?
It's always
Why
been
is it
that
that
way,
the
though,
towing industry is the only one that's not guaranteed payment? When they go out on a state or provincially owned road, these aren't private roads,
Mm.
right? The OPP or whatever your police force is paid. The fire department is paid. Your EMS is paid. And any contracted road maintenance, right? Provider, the guys who do the plows or whatever, like all those guys are paid.
Yeah.
Who's not paid or guaranteed paid? Who's not paid? The towing industry.
Well, we're also
We don't know who our
privately-
customer is. We don't know who our customer is. We can't, under a lot of ways, there is some guaranteed payment options out there.
Mhm.
Right? I know in Ontario, the MTO, at least when it comes to heavier car, like there is a certain level of guaranteed payment for that stuff. But for most of the cars, there's none. And cops will tell you, right? I have actually had a conversation with a police officer. I was dealing with 2 separate jurisdictions,
Mhm.
and we were dealing with a stolen, recovered, or chopped up car, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And there was a concern about undeployed airbags,
Oh.
right? There was airbags that had been removed from the vehicle that were not deployed.
Mm.
And so obviously the police, because they're known to have a very good cover your ass system, they go, we're a little worried about storing these at our compound because they're storing the rest of the vehicle there.
Mm.
So we really don't want to store them. So they were talking to us and, what do you do? Whatever. And I'm like, well, you could discharge them.
Yeah.
Right? If there's no value to these things, like discharge them.
Yeah.
And another cop spoke up from a different jurisdiction than the one we were working in. He was helping in the investigation. And he said, just let the towing company store them. Make it their liability.
Huh.
And I'm sitting there going, pardon?
Yeah.
Like, that's your solution. This is a big headache for us. This is a problem for us.
Yeah.
Let the towing industry, let the towing company deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Let them have all the liability if something happens to these.
Yeah.
Right? And then it's like, so who are we billing for this? Well, I guess you're going to bill us, right? That was which they were good for. Like, we had established pricing well before. You said to start giving a quote without seeing it. Try giving a quote on getting a vehicle out of a place and you can't see it.
Yeah.
So I'm just throwing prices on hourlies for all my equipment, and I'll get there in the morning the day of and assess what I'm going to need.
Yeah.
Right? And then his thing is, well, no, let the towing company just store the car, and then they can sell off whatever parts for it from profit. It's like, wait a second, I'm providing a service to you that you have requested, and your solution for me to get paid is to sell parts off of the car at the end of the day after
It's
I sit on
already
it
mangled?
it's been chopped up.
Yeah.
Well, those headlights, they have to be worth a good I'm not in the business of selling parts. I don't know what kind of Sanford and Son company, you know what I mean? Like, there is some that are out there. Hey, good for you.
Yeah.
Right? But that shouldn't be, hey, the police, here's how you're going to make your money off it. Yes, there's ways that you need to go out and find extra revenue streams and ways to compensate stuff within your impound.
Yeah.
But to make that the principle, right? Like that's how I'm going to generate any sort of income off this call.
Yeah.
You know, these trucks, they don't run on hopes and dreams. They don't run on sold headlights for Audis.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
I don't know. I always find it funny every time you talk to like a law enforcement officer, firefighter, EMS, whoever, who's normally on the same scene as you. And anytime something like that comes up and you give them a tidbit of how the towing industry works, they
They're
always
shocked.
look at you funny.
Yeah.
And they're like, either that's very unprofessional, or I don't know how you're in business, or why are you doing it if you aren't guaranteed payment? And
Yeah, 'cause
I
it's a
never
public-
normally have a good answer for them, other than I enjoy 50% of what I do.
I hope they have collision. Well, why?
Yeah.
Well, because if not, they're probably not going to pay the bill and they're going to abandon it in my yard.
Yeah. You're going to
That's why I
drag out
was
this
looking-
investigation for 5 hours, not let me leave. And if I do, then I won't get it anyways.
Yeah.
And
I have
so
no
I'm going to
guarantee.
stay here for 5 hours, do an hour for the recovery and the hookup, take it back to my shop. So I'm going to have 7 or 8 hours invested into this one wreck, and I might not get paid for it.
We had an insurance company the other day. God, I love insurance companies. I haven't gone deep dive into this, but I get the emails, like the notifications.
Mhm.
And so we had towed a vehicle from a scene to a police station for investigation purposes.
Yep.
It was to be held at the station.
Mhm.
Once the investigation is finished, the police notify us and we return to the police station. We pick up the vehicle and we bring it back to our yard.
Yep.
The whole time that it's obviously for an investigation, that it's not on our property, we don't charge storage or anything. Like, it's the right thing to do.
Yep.
Right? If you're charging storage on someone else's lot, you might be part of the problem.
If you're getting away with it, good for you.
No, you're part of the problem. You're the reason that I can't get paid now. So, in the notification from the insurance company, they actually came right out and said, we will not cover the tow back to your yard.
What?
And I'm sitting there going, a pardon? Like, how was it supposed to get there?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, would you have liked us to contact you? You would have picked it up and brought it to our yard for free?
Yeah.
No. And it's not like, priority rate like we've talked about before. When
Yeah,
it
it's
comes
just
to
a
billing,
retail.
it's just an accident retail.
Yeah.
Right? So, and like, it's a very reasonable rate. No, we don't pay that. And it's like, well, I see you in court, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, add it to the pile. You know what I mean? Like, insurance companies are absolutely slaughtering us on the roads in Ontario. If it isn't our premium, it's their lack of willingness to pay. But yeah, actually came right out and said, we will not, like, we're not covering this portion. And we're like, okay, well, point us in the direction of who is then.
We have problems. So, like, we have a lot of indoor storage where I work. And with our regional... Huh?
It's all you have is indoor storage.
Pretty well, yeah. We do store the electric cars outside now because that's a no-no, keeping those indoors.
Yeah.
But with our regional police contract, we are like the indoor storage people.
Right.
So we get all the good ones, I guess you can say. The
Right.
pedestrian struck, the commercial vehicle involved in an accident that has to get investigated, everything like that. I've had a Mercedes vehicle in there for like a year while it's going through the court systems, just
Oof.
sitting in a corner. I've had
Oof.
a Ram truck just sitting in another corner that hit someone and it had to go through the court systems. But so
And
for
none
our,
of these are going to get paid for.
they end up leaving. I don't ask because I don't want to know. Sometimes
Yep.
we get told to go pick them up and bring them in, so now we've got more money invested. Other times they just get dropped off by another tow company, which is always fantastic as well.
We used to do that down in, I remember doing that down in the town we worked together, right? We go down.
So the biggest issue is, like, with our police contract, the police, like the regional police, actually pay us X amount of dollars for X amount of spots worth of storage for long term, right?
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
Which isn't too bad. The downfall is when you get a triaxle dump truck that comes to you and it needs
Mm,
long term storage that takes
yeah.
up 4 spots.
But they only pay for one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they also say, oh, the pup trailer that it was towing as well, it needs to be inside too. And you're like, no, it doesn't. That can stay wherever, whoever tow company picked it up in the first place, they
Keep
keep
it.
the effing trailer.
Yeah. Yeah, see, our police, like, we don't have any secure, like, set up like that. Like, we have, outdoor storage if they want to pay for it.
Yeah.
They don't. Their budget is ridiculous.
Mhm.
But what they'll do is, like, so they have an offsite ident,
Mhm.
which isn't anything fancy by any means. It's,
Mhm.
it could be comparable to a storage locker, a couple of them.
Mhm.
And so what happens is if we ever tow a vehicle from a scene to there,
Mhm.
that's billed to them.
Mhm.
When we pick the vehicle up and if it comes to our yard, once it's been released from investigation, that tow to our yard plus any storage that accumulates is going to the RO or the insurance company.
So you're telling me the story that you just told me,
Mhm.
where the insurance company didn't want to pay the
That
retow?
was different. That was different.
Okay.
That was for a different police force. This is for our local police force.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, for our local police force, right? That we're contracted with.
Yeah.
They pay the tow to their ident.
Mhm.
When it comes to the provincial, no.
Yeah.
It's all onto the, because again, provincial police aren't paying for anything.
No.
And if you've ever tried billing the Ontario Provincial, I love them. There's a bunch of hardworking good people in the Ontario Provincial Police, and I be the last person that wants to shit on them.
Yeah.
Right. But if you ever tried billing a government agency,
Hmm.
my lord, they don't. It's crazy how quick the CRA wants my money.
Yeah.
But let me tell you, when it's time to get it back, when I want my money, whoo-wee. 90 days is you're lucky.
How many hoops do I have to jump through today
How many
to
people
get
do I need to email this invoice?
$26 from you?
Yeah. How many people do I need to email this invoice to? Because the first 10 are going to tell me it's not them. And it'll end up being the first guy after you'll do the big loop. It'll come back to it's the first guy.
Yeah.
That's normally how it works.
Oh, sorry, that was actually in my job description. Let me deal with that for you now.
Yeah. Now that you've spent 3 months chasing this, let me sort this out for you. Now, like I said, there's some fine folks on all levels, and anytime you deal with the government, obviously there's just extra paperwork, right? There's one thing we've learned over the years: it's paperwork is the government's best friend. It keeps people employed.
Yeah. It's always funny because, like, the towing industry has always fallen in such a gray area uh, on so many things. Like the lack of training we need to put someone behind the wheel of a truck, which is somewhat changing from what I'm hearing. There
Yes.
might be some licensing that we need. I know there's some places in the States that need it already. That's okay. It could be a money grab. I don't know. I need to look into it more before I give my actual opinion on it. But, like, you look at the fire department, let's say. Do they do their own oil changes on their fire trucks, or do they
God,
have a mechanic to come in and do it?
Yes.
The same with the police force. I see cars getting transported all the times with the little out of service flags going to the dealerships. So, like, I know it's not a requirement where I work to do your own oil changes. We do have a mechanic that comes in once a week to do oil changes, hopefully, fuel filters, stuff like that. But I had some leaky hydraulic cylinders for my boom that needed to get sent out. So, guess who the guy was to figure out how to rip a boom off and disconnect all the hydraulic lines and take hydraulic cylinders out? This guy.
Well, you watch it on YouTube. There's enough you can find on YouTube. Go follow Towman127. No problem. Did I get it right? Did I get it right?
Yeah, it's Towman127.
Hey, look at that.
I've never done anything like that before. No, granted, I'm not super mechanically inclined. Like, I know how to do my own brakes and oil changes, shit like that. But it was different for me. Like, had to figure out, okay, how am I getting the boom off the truck, because I don't have another boom tow truck. Well, I do have a hoist here, so I could probably get the truck underneath and pick the boom up with the hoist. And then I found out the hoist wasn't super tall enough, so then I had to get someone else to pull down on the far side of the boom to get it up over top of the cylinders. But it was a learning experience. It took 2 days to get the cylinders out and the pins all pound out, and probably because I'm not a professional mechanic, right?
Yeah. Probably could have been quicker with someone that knew what they were doing or did it before, but
Exactly. And the company pays me by the hour, I'm assuming. I hope I'll
you're
bill them
assuming
for it.
that we've had this conversation before, yeah.
Yeah, I'll bill them for it and we'll see what happens. But like, I don't know if that's the norm everywhere.
I don't know if you don't remember when we worked together. I was changing fuel tanks on trucks.
Yeah.
We were, between me and good old Davey,
Mhm.
we were tearing apart stuff that we'd never tear apart. But you figure it out,
Yeah.
right? Like you tear it apart and you figure it out and you put it back together. I mean, taking a boom off isn't rocket science.
No.
Knowing how it comes off, there can be a couple tricks and whatever. But like, there's a couple components, some
Mhm.
hydraulic lines, some pins, some bolts.
Yeah.
So.
I also had to take out one of the junction boxes underneath to be able to get an air hammer in to get the pin out.
Yeah.
Right. Stuff like
Yeah,
that.
that's an engineer taking you to town and putting stupid things in stupid places. But
Well, I know who built the truck. So, yeah.
so, but no, like, I mean, from your standpoint, as long as you're getting paid, and I would hope you're getting paid, and again, that's for you to sort out.
Yeah.
It's definitely something that, like, take it as an opportunity to learn. It's another tool in your toolbox.
Yeah.
And if you're getting that tool under the payment and supervision of somebody else, you're golden.
Yeah.
Now, right? I remember I'd never changed a U joint before. I was changing U joints.
Mhm.
I was changing different things. Why? Because I was learning on theirs.
Mhm.
If they were going to pay me to do it, and I was going to get to learn on it, so that whenever I ran into a situation for myself, I had the tools. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, if they had you pulling out a motor and rebuilding it, we're talking a different story.
Yeah.
But yeah, how much work should somebody that's never done mechanics or that's not, like I said, you're mechanically inclined. You're not. I mean, I'd like to think if you're on a farm, you're more mechanically inclined than most.
Fair.
Right? Like, let's be honest, right? Because farmers aren't exactly known for bringing it to the dealership to get fixed.
Yeah.
Let's like, that's not a stereotype
But
you ever hear.
I'm good at jerry rigging stuff to make it work.
Yeah. Yeah, we've all been there.
It's a commercial piece of equipment that it makes me money every day that I'm in it.
Well, then you better do it right.
Without that, I don't get a paycheck. So I want to make sure it's done right. So I don't really trust myself doing a ton of work.
Well, you better make sure it's done right.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to say. You better make sure it's done right.
Mm.
Right? Because no, you're going to learn you're going to make mistakes. If there's one thing I've learned over the years, you're going to make mistakes.
Yeah.
Right? And hopefully this isn't one of them. Hopefully you figure out how it goes back together. Hopefully your tow truck is back up and running in no time. Before we get much farther, it is probably a good time to mention for our audio listeners and our YouTube viewers, if you haven't already, be sure to submit your recovery of the month. We are running this recovery of the month contest for every month in the year 2023. We've already done January, February, March, April, May, June. Coming out soon is July. It will be on the next episode.
No.
Which reminds us, when we record a banker, we either got to save it for after or. So head on over to towinglife.ca/recovery to submit your recovery of the month for a chance to win a spot in our 2024 calendar, as well as a $50 Canadian Amazon gift card. We have given out 6 of these already, and we have 6 more to go. Every month has been sponsored by some amazing, friends of the show. It's also a good time to mention our amazing sponsors. Yes, last week we haven't even brought it up. Last week was our live show.
Yeah.
Our 100th episode we did live. Is it still available on YouTube?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the actual live with the comments and everything. It's available over on the Facebook page.
Yep.
And the audio for the replay is available on Spotify, Amazon. If you're listening here, you've probably already listened to it.
Yep.
We had, it's a good time to thank the amazing people that we had out for that. The fine folks over at Tow Canada Magazine, giving away 2 one-year digital print subscriptions to the magazine.
Yep.
Backpull Hitches gave away another Backpull Hitch. That's the second one that the Towing Life has given away. We did one at the tow show in Ontario. We did another one on our live show. We'll hopefully have more of those giveaways to do with them. So thank you, Backpull Hitches.
That's like $1,400 worth of equipment we've given away.
Canadian.
Yeah.
It's like $4 American. But no, absolutely. They've been a huge supporter of the show. So we thank you. That's why I wear their hat almost every week. Almost. Not everyone, but almost. G stopped wearing them. He's protesting.
No.
Back to just down
It's
Louisiana.
my going out hat.
He says you need a new hat, nice design on it.
Yeah.
Something a little more modern. We'll get him a new one made. And of course, Plain Guy Productions, aka the Towing Life Podcast, which is us/me/you/us.
Yep.
We gave away some Amazon gift cards. It was awesome. We had a great time. Some of the conversations that we got to have, some of the questions that we got to do, some of the, we're always nervous going into those.
You were.
You were actually really calm and cool. I was surprised.
Yep.
Because I asked you before the show, you nervous? Because I was. And I told my wife before it, I'm like, I'm a little nervous. And she's like, oh. And I'm like, and I can't tell G. Because G's normally nervous. And if I'm nervous, he's going to get scared. So I didn't tell you until after the show. I'm like, were you nervous? He's like, no. And you weren't. And I was like, cool, I was.
The only nervous part that I had
Is
was,
what if nobody listens?
no, when I opened up the document to get caught up to speed with what we're actually doing on the live, and then I saw the Haas alerts with a guest. I was like, oh.
Yeah, I didn't really run that by you.
No.
I forgot to mention, the fine folks, Devin Banks over at Haas Alert Systems came on, gave a little 20-minute talk about what is Haas Alert. We'll be reaching out to her to have her future on a show. Maybe we'll do an episode on it. Mm-hmm. I know one of the comments we seen when we had her on was, I hate sales guests. And in all fairness, I understand. Yeah. But the conversation that we had with Devin was, no one was selling you anything.
No.
It's just what it is, right? So I know, we've had some dispatching softwares before where, it's half commercial and it's half entertainment.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the deal.
And even with the dispatching service that we did have, Live Dial, I think it was, Live Dial 24, I don't know.
Yeah, Live Dial 24, they were great. Yeah. They were awesome.
They were great. I thoroughly enjoyed talking to them. But even just like a dispatching company, right? Some people might need that. For some people, that might be just something that's missing, right? Maybe it wasn't something that even crossed their mind, right? So regardless if you go with them or you at least get that thought in the back of your head and you start doing research and seeing what works best for you. That's the goal with the show, right? Is to
absolutely, the goal of the show is always to bring up stuff where you might not have thought of.
Yeah.
Or, maybe a problem you've been having and hearing someone else talk about it is a nice, kick in the ass sometimes to start making those changes or whatever you need. I said, we don't come into the show knowing that, like all of our spot, like, backpull hitches, amazing sponsor of the show. I'm not saying go out today and buy yourself a backpull. Well, maybe it doesn't apply to your situation. Maybe you don't run a fleet but you know what? If you do, and it is, here's the information. Head over to backpullhitches.com. Like that's the easy part.
Yep.
Right? Half of the shit that we learned in the industry was by word of mouth and somebody telling us about something. Hey, did you check this out? Mm-hmm. Hey, did you do this? Like, that's what the industry is about. So, for that one comment, I don't know who it was. I don't remember. I don't care. I don't hold it against you. I understand. It can be boring too. I mean, we have a great time with it. I have fun. We normally try and bring guests that can take a joke and we can have a conversation with. It doesn't all have to be about a product. Like, we've had plenty of fun with all of those guests that we've had over the years. And it's crazy to say over the years.
Yeah.
Episode 101 today, which means 104 is 2-year anniversary of the Towing Life podcast. Yeah. 2 years. You fine folks have been listening to us week in, week out. We can't do it without you. So, also head on over. That's the wrong picture. Head on over to our merch store. If you're looking to get some Towing Life swag similar to what Towman G is wearing right now. Right, Towing saved me from becoming a porn. There's new designs. I haven't put any new ones up. If you guys have an idea for a new design that you want, you know where to find us. It's easy. Head over to towinglife.ca/nothing. Nope, shop. Or find us on Facebook at the Towing Life Podcast or comment down below. You know where to find us. I don't have to keep telling you guys. We're here every week. It's not hard. Go back on an old episode, comment a t-shirt you want done. Towman G will design it himself.
Well. You don't want me to design your t-shirt.
No, oh my God, I've seen this. I would like to point out for those watching on the YouTube side, everything you see on your screen,
not me,
did not design, nor create. No. I do not take many credits in this show. I really don't, but that's all mine.
Because if I created it, I would make sure the top banner where it says the towing life wouldn't be touching the yellow line, because the
Yeah,
yellow line actually like cuts off part of the L.
Yeah, okay. Would you like to redesign it?
No,
Then shut the hell up.
just grinding your gears, buddy.
I know you are, absolutely. I love when you can give it back sometimes. I open the door open I leave it open sometimes, and I'm always happy when you take advantage of that.
Yeah.
It's only fair if it's a two-way street. So, employee discounts is something I want to talk to you about. I'm not going to try and make some cool segue into it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
That is one of the, in my opinion, trickiest things in the towing industry. Is employee discounts.
Yeah.
Because it is very hard to set a standard, right?
Mm-hmm.
My cousin's uncle, brother, sister needs a local tow.
Yeah.
How much? Well, are you doing it on your own time or are you doing it on company time?
Yeah.
Is it in town or is it out of town? Right? Like we're talking like a 10 kilometer, 15 kilometer radius. So like 6 miles, maybe 5 miles, 6 miles.
Yep.
When does it have to get done? What's the price? Like there's so much that goes into a discount.
Mm-hmm.
If you, Towman G, you run Towman G's towing and recovery.
Yep.
How would you handle employee discounts?
Well, it's very hard because, like, I remember the company we used to work for together. I left that company, and then, like, a week and a half later, I broke down while driving one of your coworkers home. I broke down after I dropped him off, and I'm pretty sure you came and picked me up. I think it was
No,
you.
I think I remember this. That was in the Volkswagen, right?
No, it was in my Focus. I blew the clutch out of it.
Mm.
Right? And I asked you, what do I owe you? And you said, I don't know, just settle up with the owners.
How'd that go? Did you get hosed?
I think they only asked me for like $50.
Okay.
Which in that instance, you had to drive like 30 kilometers away from the shop to pick me up, to tow me another 25 kilometers further away from the shop, and then like 60 dead miles back. Which just doesn't work out mathematically.
For $50.
No, right? I've had instances
I probably
before-
did it for free though, so it helps. Like, you know, I'm
Yeah.
not like I didn't charge anything for it.
Yeah, like stuff like
Don't
that.
think it was zero.
I think a good common rule of thumb is at least 20% if the driver is doing it themselves, right?
Well, if the driver's doing it himself, in theory, if you've done your homework and you can do your math,
Yeah.
you'll knock off your labor rate.
Yeah.
Right? Whatever your labor rate percentage is, right? In a case where you're commission based, it's very simple.
Mhm.
Right? 25, 30, 33, whatever it is.
Yep.
Right? But in a case that it's not,
Mhm.
you know what your labor rate is though.
Yeah.
Like just like you know what your commission rate is, I can tell you what my labor rate is.
Mhm.
I can tell you what percentage of an invoice is labor.
Mhm.
Right? So I think, yeah, if they're doing it on their own time, I think labor is a good start.
Yep.
Now, I remember I had an employee back when. And he said, hey, my buddy's looking for a tow, wants a deal on it. And I was like, good buddy of yours? Yeah, good buddy of mine. Okay. You willing to do it on your own time? No. Then he's not that good of a buddy.
Yeah.
And here's the price.
Yeah.
Like, why should I, you know what I mean? Like, again, friends and family, like there's difference, right? Like if my mother needs a tow, I'm not going to charge her if it's a local tow. At the same point, I'm not going to charge her. I might pay an invoice, right? I might pay a discounted invoice.
Yeah.
Like it's finding, that's what I mean. It's like, because just what makes the towing industry great is it's full of different scenarios.
Yeah.
What makes the towing life difficult is it's full of different scenarios.
Mhm.
Right? Like
you can't say this shoe fits all scenarios. Like
And I
that 20% off thing that I threw out, great in theory, won't
Yeah.
work in practice.
Well, if you stick to it, your 20% thing could probably work.
Yeah.
Right?
Maybe.
Could probably work. If the guy's willing to do it on his own time, fine, 20. What if a guy is moving something for himself?
Yeah.
Is it still the 20% off?
I mean, I've
These
had it
guys that go
before
out and
where
slave all day for you and do the on calls and everything else. It's like I can't move my car in town at no cost. Like I drive home at the end of the day. Why can't you know what I mean? Like it's so difficult.
I've had it where I've had to take a tow truck to go move something before. And a
What's the
lot of
engine out of the
times
truck?
the deal gets worked out to be you fill the truck up before you go and do your own shenanigans with it. And when you come back, you fill up that tank again. Like,
I've definitely made similar deals to that. Yeah.
right? So you pay for the full fuel. You're not paying for the wear and tear. Obviously, that's going to be in your own time, right? And I think that is more than fair towards the driver because, like, you're just paying for the fuel. You would burn that in your own vehicle if you're able to do that, anyways. The company's eating the wear and tear of the vehicle, and well, it's your off time anyway, so you're not getting paid for it regardless. I think that's the company's losing out big time on that deal, and you're getting away pretty decent, I think.
I had a driver, dude. I told him one time, he goes, it was something like that. Can I go move, I don't know, a play structure? I don't remember what it was. It was something. And I said, make you a deal. You pay the fuel. Right? So similar to what you talked about, which in every experience I've ever dealt with in my life meant you fill it up, you go do it, you fill it up when you're done. It's not how he did it.
Oh boy.
The truck was at about 3/4 of a tank. He filled it up, and then he burned about 3/4 of a tank.
Ah.
And I went, it's not exactly what I meant. You pay the fuel doesn't mean you just fill it up and then leave it less than you got it. And like that was how did that make sense in your brain?
Yeah.
You pay the fuel. Okay, well I filled it up. Okay, but it only needed like a quarter left. Like it was almost full.
Huh.
And now it's got a quarter tank left in the tank. Like I gave you a deal and I still got screwed.
Yeah, I mean, like, fill up when you're done.
Yeah, like I said, fill it up on the company before you start.
No.
I like that idea, right? At least cover your fuel cost. It's not your wear and tear,
No.
right? It's not your margins. It's not all that kind of stuff. And again, here's a question for you: Does it depend on the employee?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
how many
like
times a year can they do this?
Well,
That's what I
really.
mean.
Yeah. I mean, like, if you got a guy who's been there for a month, let's say, and he asks you to take your truck, on a 100-kilometer trip to go pick up a ship box that he just bought, well, I hope he's, giving the company a couple of extra bucks other than just paying for fuel.
Yeah, especially if he's green and he hasn't really earned anything within the company, kind of thing.
Exactly. If a driver is put in 2, 3, 5 years into the company, well, the driver's definitely scratched the company's back more than a handful of times in those 3 to 5 years. So hopefully the company can scratch his back too, right? And it's just should be a working relationship, I think, between the driver and the company that they're employed with.
So the biggest misuse of a company discount that I've ever seen in my life was you. And I don't know, I'm sure you'll remember what I'm talking about. So, Tom and G here, when we worked together, we used to have a deal. I had a deal. Shouldn't say we. I had a deal with the company owners. The odd time I would come across a vehicle where the people would just say, like, I'm just trying to scrap it. I'm just trying to get rid of it. So what would happen is I would not get charged to use the tow truck.
Yeah.
I would buy the vehicle with money out of my pocket. I would then scrap the vehicle.
Yeah.
Right. And I would split the profit, not the sale, but the profit with the owner 50-50. So if I turned around and I made $500-$600 profit, which I have, I would make $250 profit. The owner would make $250 profit. Everybody was happy.
Yeah.
This little co-host sitting next to me, one day I get a truck that is in the same range, year, make, and model of a truck he has.
Yeah.
So I say, are you interested in buying this thing for parts? He's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, well, here's the guy's contact info. He only wants a couple $100 for it.
Yeah.
Go ahead and, make the arrangements with him. Okay. So Tom NG makes the arrangements with him, goes, picks him up, gives him a couple $100, takes it back to our yard, takes off like a door handle, a couple pieces of trim.
Yeah.
sends it to scrap, makes a killing, tells us he made a killing, and then offers us each $50.
So
So the owner of the company then went to me and he goes, he doesn't know our deal, does he? And I'm like, he most certainly does not.
Hmm.
And he's like, don't do that again. Like, don't give him a vehicle again.
Hmm.
I'm like, fair enough. Because like we would have each made $400. Instead, you paid us $50, used our truck, paid us each $50, ended up with 2 pieces of trim, which I could have taken off and still given you. I'm thinking this thing's going back to your house. You're going to keep it for part, whatever the case is going to be.
well,
So insulted by that. That was the biggest misuse of a company discount I've ever seen in my life.
so I was under the impression. So how I came to be on that was we had a contract with the local scrapyard I sent the truck to, right?
Yes.
We had a contracted rate. So I said, okay, this is the kilometers in the contracted rate. This is how much the truck should make. This is how much money I'm giving the company because that's how much this contract would pay. I went and I bought the truck. I towed it back to the shop. I cut the cat off of it. I took the dash piece out. I took the radio out, and I think I took a couple of other small things out.
Minor. We're talking minor things.
Yeah, like I wasn't taking doors off. I didn't need it. Wasn't in great shape. My truck was pretty well rust free at the time, and so I sent it off to scrap. Sold the cat separately. I paid the company out the contracted rate. So if the
Which is
truck was
a-
sent out there to do that job, how much the company would have made without having to pay my labor rate. So they're already getting, I think it was a 33% markup on that. So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, they're making an extra 33% of what they would normally make. That's okay. I wasn't made aware of how you guys do this 50-50 deal. So I was thinking, oh yeah, they're still doing all right. I think I sold the truck for like $950, including the cat.
Yeah.
I think I paid $150 for the truck. And I think I paid
And
the
you paid
company, I
another
think it was like
$100.
$90.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, it was a great day for me. I was able to, put some of that money away to go towards Christmas gifts or whatever. But yeah, I didn't know about that deal until you just told me.
You didn't know about that deal?
No.
That was the deal I made on all the cars I would buy. I didn't buy many of them. There wasn't I didn't have 100 vehicles I would get, but I probably bought in over the years, I don't know, a dozen vehicles.
Mm.
And that was the deal I always had, is I would pay the money out of pocket.
Yeah.
Right? And then I would, because, we did find steals. My black truck, if you remember that was off a customer who wanted to scrap it.
Mm-hmm.
I paid $800 for it and I put a transmission into it.
Mm-hmm.
And, I was $2,000 into that truck and it was perfect until I blew it up a couple years later. But no, that was always like, and then it wasn't, I never did that on like when I had that Golf for a while and I bought another Golf that I'd taken the wheels off and I'd done a bunch of stuff to it and I towed it to scrap. That one there, I probably still paid them half of the profit. But it was like, because that was just a fair, reasonable way to do it. Mm-hmm. Right? They made money. I made money. Everybody was happy. In your scenario, you made money.
Yeah.
They lost money.
They didn't lose money.
Yes, because the contracted rate, young grasshopper, was because we could do those runs at our convenience normally on backhauls.
Yeah.
So you went specifically out there just for that truck. So yes, you lost money on that deal. You cannot tell me that for $90 that was a profitable tow.
Oh, it wasn't a profitable tow.
Because then it was back to the yard. Then it was you cut off cat. Then you towed it again. It wasn't a profitable tow. Well, it's profitable for somebody, just not for the company.
Well, I don't think the company didn't make any money on it, but I don't think they lost any money on it because that $90 I didn't take a percentage out of, so that was.
But they didn't lose any. Okay, but they didn't make. Let's say they didn't make. Let's say they broke even. We're gonna call that a break even.
Yeah.
Best case scenario, that's a break even, and if it's not. You used their equipment and you were up like $800.
Yeah.
And they were break even.
Yeah.
In what world of accounting does that make sense?
Well,
It was
Well-
actually no. Sorry, you gave me $20. I remember that. You didn't give me 50. You gave me 20. That was probably the most insulting. I would have rather you given me nothing.
Hmm.
I would have rather you given me a shake. Shook my hand and said thanks for that. I needed those parts.
Hmm.
Instead, you gave me $20. How in your accounting world? I understand how you did the math, and I appreciate that. That is the solid way of looking at it. I will
Yeah.
give you that. And you were a little newer back then.
yeah,
You didn't, you weren't as wise as you are now.
yeah.
You use that term lightly.
Well, I also didn't know I was going to be making $950 on the truck either, right? So, like, the way I looked at it was, let's say I go out and rent a U-Haul van for $30 or $50, whatever, for the day, and I
Yeah.
can make $900 with that van for the day. I'm not then going and saying, hey, I made $900 with the van that I rented from you. Here's more money because I made more money, right? I understand the thing between you and me because you gave me the lead,
Yeah,
right?
I could have bought it for that. I could have just bought it.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I didn't even know I gave you money. So I
Yeah, it
should
was
have
like
gave you
20
more.
bucks.
So I do.
It was like $20.
Yeah, I do apologize for that. But on the company side of things, yeah, is it kind of shitty because they have a deal worked out with you where they're expecting like, 200, $250 or whatever, because that's what they've gotten previously. When I paid for the rental of that truck for what that truck was worth doing X amount of work. Plus, they didn't have to pay out a commission on that work. So they're making 33% more on that, right? So in the eyes of I'm renting a piece of equipment to do a job, everything should be fine.
I should have rented. If you're renting a tow truck, be more than that.
Yeah. But that was the rate sheet that we had.
I think if you would have at least given I think if you would have went like $200, I think that would have been fair.
Yeah.
$200 on your let's say you made 700 profit, 200 to the company, 500 in your pocket. I think would be reasonable.
Yeah.
I think $90 to the company. But yeah, because I still remember going if I would have known that all you wanted was a couple, I would have just picked it up and brought it here, and you could have taken whatever you wanted off of. Because don't forget, I was already out there. I towed it out there, and then left it.
I think I took the rims and tires off it too, actually.
I don't
Can't
know.
remember.
It was a very bare minimum you took off that thing. I remember that was probably the worst part about it. Like I said, it's not like you had, you were taking, I need a fender, I need a door, whatever. And then that, again, would have been more understandable because we were doing it out of goodwill. Oh, you need something from this vehicle. It was more the fact that you really didn't. And you were just doing it for pure profit.
Well, that was just
You did it for pure profit.
You can't bill or say what you would charge for a job until you actually get there and look at it. You said, do you want a truck for parts? I said, sure. And then I went out in there and looked at it. There wasn't that many parts that I could have used.
So at that point, you were doing it for pure profit.
Yeah.
And that's where the company should have benefited equally.
Yeah.
Like I said, I've had some where, maybe my Golf, I don't remember. Maybe that one there, they didn't take it on because I took some parts off it, spent some time with it, whatever, and then I scrapped it when I was done.
Mm-hmm.
I probably still threw them $100. Just said, hey, and those were a lot closer to get those ones.
Mm-hmm.
And the little stuff like that. But yeah, no, it's funny that you didn't know. But that was the deal that I had back when, is I would give him 50% of the profit. Because again, I was still making up great.
Mm-hmm.
I'd go pick this car up. I'd use his shop to cut cats and to do everything else, which you probably did too.
I did it in the parking lot, but yeah.
Yeah, but cut the cats, do the whatever, then haul it over. All with their fuel, all with their truck. And then I'd hand him a couple $100 and I'd keep a couple $100 and everybody was happy.
Yep.
And it was deals like that kept it that I was allowed to do what I wanted like that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because you grease anybody and they're making some good money off of it. Sure.
Yep.
Hey, I got this car I'm going to go pick up. Okay, no problem. Hey, I got this, whatever I need. That's part of the give and take world of the towing industry.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you were... I'm glad I got to share that on this show. And I'm glad that so much time has passed from it that it's so irrelevant now.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's not like there's no hard feelings. I mean, you should definitely call them tomorrow and be like, I am so sorry.
Message them on Facebook.
Yeah,
Sorry, I'm an ass.
Playing guy told me about this deal that you guys apparently had, and I completely just screwed it all up. So I apologize.
Yeah. But
I think
the 50-50 thing is pretty good. Like if you're doing cash
50,
deals,
50
whatever.
profit only on the profit, of course, not the sale price, because I still put the money out of pocket.
Yeah.
And some people can even go 60-40 because I put the cash up front. I mean, we're talking a couple $100 back then.
Yeah.
I wasn't putting
but
a
like-
grand out for 30 days.
Even so, let's say you wanted to do a tow for your buddy.
Yeah.
Like cash under the table. Wink,
No, I
wink.
don't do
nudge,
those.
nudge. Never do them. But
No,
like,
I like legitimately don't, but okay.
yeah.
Not even wink, wink.
Hypothetically, in the perfect world, if no one ever did it, but if someone were to do it,
I want to make this abundantly clear, though. Again, I am not wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Okay, I got you. No, I just actually don't.
okay.
But okay, in the hypothetical
Whatever you
world
say.
that I
So
would
like,
Okay.
let's say you tow your buddy for $200 cash,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
And you give your owner $100 and you keep $100 because you found the work, you did the work, you're giving him $100 cash in his pocket to go buy a couple cases of beer. I don't know how much a case of beer costs anymore. But
not $100, but
well, I said a couple cases of beer.
okay, fair
Yeah.
enough.
Anyways, so I think that's decent. That's pretty all right because I've worked for companies before where you do cash work and it's on a bill or whatever and you hand stuff in and then the owner's got to sit there and count it all back out to you. If it's just 50-50, the honor system should really kick in and the driver should be like, here's $100. I take $100. Right?
And see, that's where I'm okay. So let's say, which I don't. Again, I'm writing an invoice for it. I don't care. But let's say I told my buddy, and he says, "I'll give you he gives me $200 for the tow."
Mhm.
Right? What am I doing with that money? Well, if it's a buddy of mine, I'm doing it on my own time.
Mhm.
The company can have the 200. I'm not trying to make a profit off my buddy.
Yeah.
Why am I making money off my buddy?
Yeah.
Right? When you called me, just like I did with you. When you called me, I didn't make a dime off it.
Yeah.
Let the company have it. That's how you know I actually don't do cash calls. Because I didn't even take a review.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know. Maybe I'm selling myself short. Maybe I should be making profit in places I'm not making profit. But if I'm using the company equipment, right? I'm the same way. When I'm on the clock, I'm all about I am about making every dollar for the company.
Hmm.
When I'm off the clock, and when I mean off the clock, I mean not running around in their tow truck off the clock.
Yeah.
I mean off the clock. I'm finding ways to make money for me. I'm finding ways to, improve my value, whatever it can be, right?
Yeah.
Run a business, run side hustles, right? Side hustles are awesome. All for it. But when I'm on the clock and when it's company time, it's company money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, maybe I'm a dying breed. You cash call guys will be the death of me.
I'm a firm believer in anything. If I have a buddy that's an electrician and I ask him to do a work for me, I'm not expecting a buddy deal. Just charge me what you normally charge.
Mhm.
If you decide to give me a deal because our friendship warrants it, by all means, I'm not going to ask you for a deal.
You're opening a can of worms with this. I'm in. Let's go.
I'm
We're
not
gonna
going
run
to
long.
ask you for a deal because you're my buddy, because I don't want to undermine your business.
Okay. Pet peeve.
Mhm.
Real talk.
Yeah.
Pet peeve. I'm all for. Okay, so you have an electrician buddy.
Yeah.
Right? Needs a tow. Let's say you give him a tow and you give him a deal.
Yeah.
You give him a deal at the company's expense
Mhm.
to gain a favor back for your personal
Mm.
life. You're an asshole. You're an asshole.
Yeah.
If that's what you do. I'm not saying that's what you do in that scenario, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
If you bring business to a body shop or do free tows for a body shop,
Mhm.
right? So that you can get your car repainted or whatever. You're shady and you're an asshole.
Mhm.
If you are using the company and discounting company profits
For personal gain.
For personal gain, you are shady and you are an asshole.
Mm.
I am all for, making friends and doing different things. You want to give that guy a deal? You pay the difference.
Yeah.
That way, when you get the benefit for it, it all works out in the wash. You want to tell that guy, I'll knock $30 off your bill, you pay the $30. If you're going to have that guy do you a favor down the road, if that's your intention, right? Sometimes it's not your intention.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can just be helping a guy and he'll honestly give you a help back on something you need. But most of the people that I've met, it's with a purpose.
Yeah.
It's with an intention. So if you are using the company, and it's not, if you're charging your appropriate rate and everything else, but if you are literally discounting and I don't want to say stealing, because stealing's aggressive.
Yeah.
But in a way that affects the company profit in order to personally gain you, you are shady and you are an asshole. That is Plain Guy's strong opinion. We are done with this week.
Okay, that brings up, just gives me a topic for next week episode. I'm putting it in the note.
Perfect. We have it there. So on behalf of myself and my wonderful co-host, Mr. Toman, don't be shady. Don't be an asshole. We'll see you again next week. Take care.
Toodles.
Are you mad that I cut you off?
A little bit.
Dude, we're already starting to run long.
I know.
And I knew what would happen. We keep going back on this.
I know.
You got to admit it was a good way to end.
It was.